Geographic Information System, or GIS. This person, we are going to talk about him in a short while. So, the history of GIS. Let me tell you, whenever we talk about GIS, it's Geographic Information System. It's not geographical, it's Geographic Information System. Along with this, what are these constituents? GIS. Geography means real world. That is mountain, rivers, your house. Information is when you have a data. If you can take out some meaning out of that, that is going to be information. So this geography, it's information. And can we have a system? Can we have a system for this information which is pertaining to geography or actual real world? That is Geographic Information System. Now let me take you to 1854. London, the capital of England, was hit by cholera. This cholera was declared as epidemic. Here you see, everyone was thinking the disease is spreading because of people, because they are breathing and it is in the air. So now came Dr. John Snow. He is Dr. John Snow. He said, and actually he proved, he is actually father of epidemiology, Dr. John Snow. So at that time, 1854, he proved that wherever there are water pumps, that is the water pump, that particular area, here most of the people are worst hit by cholera. So he laid out a map of then that area, and this is the original cholera map by John Snow, and he used spatial analysis on this paper map, and this is to end the epidemic in London. So this was the basic building block, and there were so many examples. Here I took a word spatial. Spatial came from space. So it's all about information of location. It can be latitude, longitude, it can be in some meters or with certain coordinate axis. Where are you? Where am I? Actual GIS was made by Mr. Roger Tomlinson. Roger Tomlinson, and he is the man. He did the pioneering work. He initiated, planned and developed the CGIS, that is the first computerized geographical information system, Canada Geographic Information System, CGIS, in 1963. He was also commissioned by Canadian government in order to create a manageable inventory of the natural resources of Canada. So he thought and he envisioned at that time using the computer to merge this natural data for all provinces. So Tomlinson created the design for this automated computing in order to store and process large amount of data, and he also gave GIS its name. So Roger Tomlinson, he is regarded as the father of GIS, acclaimed as the father of GIS. As I said, during his time in Canadian government, he was responsible for the Canadian Geographic Information System. And this was very unique because first time it implemented the different layer-based approach to map handling. Roger Tomlinson. There are various definitions of Geographic Information System, GIS. You will find various definitions, but they all are saying almost the same thing. Tomlinson gave, Burrow gave, NCGIA, Cohen also gave. So all of these definition came time to time, and you know always whenever there is development, the definition will change slightly. So whenever there is an advancement, or as I said, emancipation, advancement, sophistication, there will always be change in the definition. So these are the dates you see, these are increasing order dates. So let us have a definition of GIS. Even the ESRI, the market leader, has also given its own definition. So Geographic Information System is a system of integrated computer-based tools for end-to-end processing. That is, it has to be a computer-based. It needs and it should have all the programs, functions, tools for end-to-end processing. And what does this processing means? Capturing, storage, retrieval, analysis and display of what? Spatial data. That is the location on the Earth's surface. Always spatial data is having a location information along with this. So this is a whole system with tools that can capture the data, store the data, retrieve the data, analyze the data and display the data. And then there has to be a support of different operation management. As I said, capturing, storing, retrieval, analysis and display. This also needs a lot of effort. Even if you are making a software, even if you are making say a web GIS on web, on internet, you need to have or handle the data. For example, storage, you need database management system, DBMS. In order to retrieve, you need a performance efficient kind of retrieval and storage system. Then you need to have an analysis tools. You can analyze also, and then you can display it even and export it in form of maps or say some file or some exportable file. So all the operation that can be done, that in operations management, any kind of decision making by say the local government or the central government or even single people like us and the science. So we need to have a set of functions, integrated tools for spatial analysis, that is the analysis on the spatial data. Then all the possibilities of capturing, storing, retrieval, analysis, modification, display, working on this data. I'm going to talk a lot about data. So this is encompassing the end-to-end processing of data. And then basically location on Earth surface to relay data to explicit, that use of explicit location, and then decision support system, because even the government sitting at one place can make decision, can do some operation, can decide something. So this is in all a decision support system. First thing is, in Geographic Information System, as I talked about data, what are the inputs? Because data has to come from somewhere. It can be from your mobile telephone. It can be from an aerial photography, because the spatial data we are talking again and again, we need to have some information, geographic information to that data. So global positioning system, GPS, actually we need to talk about GNSS, that is global navigation satellite system, and the regional navigation satellite system. So we need to have a location. This gives you location. Along with this, we get elevation, etc. Remote sensing, the satellites, the Earth observation satellites, etc. This gives us the data or the image. Different kind of image. We get thermal image. We get say the raster image. We get black and white image. We get colored image. So these all are also the data. So we need to have a system so that the input coming from this, like the location detail, like the image detail. So we have say a dot, so just a dot data, point data. Okay. Then we have a line data, which is a street. It can be a parcel, that is a polygon data. So we have different kind of data. Along with, we have say some raster data. It can be some land usage or even the actual image. So we have multiple kind of data: point, line, polygon. Then we have the raster data. When we combine them, then we get the real world scenario or real world, which we, with the help of GIS, we can analyze, and also we can show it to the people who require it or the people who are the decision maker. So the real world can be handled in a way by GS. So GPS and remote sensing, these are the input data for the GIS system. The input is coming from this. And these are not only these inputs. There are various inputs like the aerial photographs, like the LIDAR data, various data are there. So let us come to the component of GIS. So GIS consists of, in major, hardware, software, the dataware, humanware, you and me, and the procedures. So hardware, software, dataware, humanware. And then you have to have a computer system, and this computer system is basically a hardware. Then we need a software, which is the GIS software. We don't call always GIS software, because most of the people think that GIS is just a software. It is not. GIS is a combination, it's a total system. So it is combined software along with hardware with the data, which is we are calling it as spatial and non-spatial data. It may come from remote sensing, it may come from aerial photography, even it may come from drones now. Then data. Now we have the humanware, you and me. We may be some geography related people, we can be hydrologist people, we can be urban settlement people. So we need people who can work on it, say digitization work, buffer zoning work, overlaying work, making the data, explaining the data, analyzing the data. And since we are on internet now, we are on web now, this web technology also needs to be integrated. So we need to integrate the network and the internet also now. So let us formulate an intuitive description of GIS. So as you see here, I am trying to show the GIS software. But GIS in all, we can start with a map with a database behind it. It can be a map, it can be a DEM, digital elevation model, it can be a raster data, it can be a vector data, it can be a annotation data, it can even be a text file or a grid. So the map with a database behind it, because software can just help you, but it should work on something, and it should save also. So we need to have a database, and this is basically the real world we need to depict. Real world we need to depict in some computerized form, and then once the work is done, this real world has to be again means this picture or whatever you produce has to be converted into real world form. So the real world, natural, man-made, has to be shown as they are, a consistent as build of the real world. And once you are done with this, you can query on certain operation, and then you can make the policies, you can take the strategic decisions. So this is a decision support system. It's helping you and others for various work, and being the GIS analysts or technicians, we are also supporting the scientific inquiry. There may be some work or tool which we might develop. In a GIS, the main two data structure of how to data is stored is vector and raster. Vector and raster. So let us try to first of all find out the differences, and in finding the differences, let us understand what is vector and raster. So complete data can be in majority divided into vector and raster. So I'm not saying only these are, because annotation data, as I said, we have CSV files, the grid structure. There are so many data which can be handled by your GIS system and the GIS software. But the main vector and raster we need to understand. If you see the picture here, the middle one is showing the real world. So the raster model is what? Have you clicked a picture from your mobile? Of course, yes. When you try to zoom it at certain point, you will only see boxes to the highest zoom level. These boxes of equal width, that these are called pixels, picture element. So in a raster model, the information is stored in the form of cell in a grid structure, rows and columns. Rows and columns, grid structure, each information is stored in a cell. So area is covered by grid with normally equal sized and square kind of cells. So this one of these, I am calling it as cell. There are multiple cells. Actually, there are number of cells, because now the resolution have increased and the attributes are recorded by assigning each cell with a single value, which can be based on majority feature. For example, an image can have the one cell can have a brightness value or a digital number. Image data is a special form of this raster data. It is also an attribute. Basically, image is showing the picture, how this picture is coming because of the brightness value. So let us assume that this is a raster, this is the vector raster of land use. So this 2 and these 4 are say transport area. This RR stands for say residential cells, residential pixels, or this pixel correspond to the residential area on real ground. This H can be say hospital area or human settlement also you can say. So these are the pixels are assigned in a grid structure. Every point is having some value and this is called as pixel, and this grid is called the raster data. Image also is a raster data. It can be from remote sensing, it can be from aerial photography, or it can even be from your mobile. So whenever you open a GIS system or GIS software, even if you open Google Map, what do you see? You always see a base map, and in this base map you see what? Normally the satellite image are raster data. Satellite image is a raster data. But what about maps? Whenever you have seen maps, you will always see some lines showing the roads, some points are shown, some polygons are shown. So these point, line, polygon are vectors. Anything can be represented by either point or line or polygon. So let us take these houses and say represented by a point. Now take this line, or say this is a road or a river. Mark it with or draw it with a line, and say this area patch of green trees are polygon. So vector model, the fundamental concept of this vector GIS or vector data is all the geographic feature can be represented either in these 3 forms. It can be points or dots or nodes. You can have represented by say trees, poles, fire, plugs, airport, cities, because totally it depends on the scale of the map. That a same feature can be represented by a point, but same feature can be represented by a polygon in a different scale map. So large scale and small scale map, it depends totally on which kind of map you're dealing with. For example, if you take an area and very small area is there, say your house only, then you cannot give your house as a point, or say your say colony, or any place, a secretariat or sachivalaya. So you cannot give the houses or rooms as a point. You have to make a polygon. But if you make the city, a map of city, then that particular building can be shown by point also, or polygon also. So point or dots or nodes, this is the first feature. Second feature is are lines. It can be arcs also. It shouldn't be a straight line. It can be say a stream, a street, sewer can be shown by lines. And finally the areas, polygon. So let me show you the actual what we do. We'll start with the data, the raster data. We'll try to make some vector data, and then we try to combine them, and then you see how they can be combined and what analysis can be done. So this is a satellite image of some area. We are not dealing with or interested to know which area is this. We are just taken one area of interest and we just cropped it. So this is the area of interest. This is a raster data, same raster data. One area is just the area of interest. Now what we did, this area we made polygon, pavement polygon, and this is a vector layer because we made a polygon. As I said, point, line, polygon, these are vector layers. So we made a vector layer called the pavement polygon for the same raster image which we had, and then we again made a raster image. You can convert always a vector to a raster and raster to a vector. Though this conversion is not very smooth in the GIS software most of the time, but we made a raster, say 5 feet grid form. So now we have the original image. We made 2 feature, third feature also we are making. Say we are making street network layers. These are represented by line. So now we have 3 feature layers: polygon, grid, and then lines. One is not a feature, basically it's a raster, 5 feet grid. Again we made some polygons for land parcel layer. Wherever land is there, we made polygons. So we started with the raster. We made 3 vector layers: polygon, lines, and polygons. That is pavement polygons, the street network layers, and the land parcel. One more raster also we made, 5 feet grid. So this box you see, this grid, is actually information that you will actually see in your GIS software. So every point, line, polygon has information in it with it. So now we overlaid all of these, we combined all these. We have combined all these, and when we combined, we got a single image, because all this data, we assume it to be spatial data. And since we know it has to be in some geographic coordinate system, it has to be in some projected coordinate system. So whenever you put it inside your GIS software, they all will be overlaid, or they all will be draped or put in a place where it belongs depending on its location. Since all the data is of the same place, they will be overlaid like this. You can change the levels of the layer. One can go about, means the positioning of the layers you can change. You can also say tick and untick the layers. Now the analysis part. This particular point, 1 kilometer from this, there is some decision to be made. Say we don't want noise, or some notices have to be sent, or something have to be done by the say authorities. So we need 1 kilometer of area. So we made a buffer zone. Now this is the analysis part. Data we made, and then we made an analysis part, and this is all the information of the parcels or the areas of the polygon which are coming in this 1 kilometer area. You can go and give it to your authority, and they can take the decision. So this is the decision making part. How we started with the image, how we made the layers, and finally decision making. There are various GIS softwares, and some of them are commercial, some of them are open source. So the commercial GIS software, the first one and the best one is ArcGIS, ESRI. So this is from ESRI. This is a market leader since it started. So this is the biggest market leader in commercial GIS software. This ISRI ArcGIS is always innovating. It has all the functions which are there in every software. Coming to GeoMedia, this is by the company is Hexagon Geospatial. This is assumed GeoMedia is basically a rival to ArcGIS, and this was previously owned by a company called Intergraph. Now it is owned by Hexagon Geospatial Media, and this also has a presence for almost 40 years in GIS industry. So the government, infrastructure, military group, they all are using this GeoMedia because it has a solution driven approach. Then from the company called Precisely, we have Map Info Professional, and this is also a proprietary GIS software, and it has a very good technique, or say location of optimal position for the retail stores, that where you have to open a store, or uncovering the geographic patterns. It also improve if you are in order to improve insurance covers, risk, etc. From the company called Blue Marble, we have Global Mapper, and this was initially developed by United States Geological Survey (USGS), and it has evolved into GIS commercial software, and now it is competing with ArcGIS and say EDAS and this Hexagon, etc. GeoMedia. So you can assume it to be Swiss Army knife. It has everything inside it. Global Mapper, very flexible, both for beginners also and the advanced GIS users. Global Mapper from Blue Marble. Then Manifold. This Manifold GIS, this is coming from Manifold company, and this is very easy to use. You are paying half the price, and this has all the GIS functions in it. So basically you are getting it for a cheaper price, and this also comes in 64-bit environment. Then from the GE, General Electric, this is Small World. GE Small World, and this is a commercial software. It can better manage, design and plan any type of network infrastructure, and because it has a centerpiece Small World core. And there are various software in GIS which are free, also open source. The best one and the most important one is Quantum GIS, and the version today while I'm talking, it's 3.2 Odense. So Quantum GIS is an open source GIS. It has large number of geospatial data access visualization. It is you can say it competes with ArcGIS, and it has all the files which are even prepared by or made by ISRI, geodatabases. It can handle various GIDAL raster library, so it can handle any kind of the raster data, vector data. It also has the OS, Open Geospatial Consortium visualization, data access services like WebMap and web feature services. So you are a hydrologist, or you say you are an agriculturist, you need some plugin. So QGIS is also having plugin. So you can just plug that particular function and you can just start your work, because this is plugin based. So it's a very light kind of software, GIS software, and it has all the interaction with the OpenStreetMap data servers and the data transformation tools. So in all, GIS is one of the best. One also, this is also taking care of various other softwares. GrassGIS. Why I'm talking about this? Because this is Geographic Resources Analysis Support System. This was developed by US Army Corps. So this is the best tool for land management and environmental planning. It has 350 rock solid vector. So previously it was held by the government. Now it is free. Any kind of academia, the environmental consultants, the government agencies, they are using it because it is very reliable. It has a very good GUI. So as I said, it has vector and raster manipulation tools, 350 and more rock solid. image processing, data terrain and manipulation analysis tools. Now GVSig. So GVSig is also a very good option, best option for free GIS. Basically it's underrated, but if you start using it, then you see it has excellent 3D capabilities. It's a very good desktop application, and GVSig is you can say it's basically a European kind of open source GIS software. So you can use this GVSig. It has nav table, CAD tools. These are very impressive in GVSig, because if you are working with the OpenCAD tools, this is the thing for you. Coming to Ilvis. So it was a commercial GIS software once. Now it has turned to open source GIS. Ilvis is standing for Integrated Land and Water Information Management. So you know that this is old, but it is gold. Ilvis, as I said, especially for the biologists, water managers, and the geospatial users. Ilvis is good for digitization and editing, the 3D analysis, animation, time series is also there. Coming to Saga GIS. Saga stands for System for Automated Geoscientific Analysis. So this is one of the classic in the world of free GIS. So what are the main key feature is hill shading, watershed extraction, and visibility analysis. And this is quite a geoscientific kind of software. UDIG. So UDIG is very easy, free software. It is user friendly. It comes, D means for desktop, I is for internet, consuming a standard like web services, web map services, web feature services. So the web WCS also, web coverage services, WPS. Then we have the GIS ready for complex and analytical capabilities. So UDIG is also one of the good option. What is the future of GIS? Now we have moved to web, cloud computing, but since we are dealing with the global warming, we are dealing with loss of nature, the trees are being cut, we are dealing with the pollution. So these kind of software or the system can be used to address all these problems, and we can get a good idea and kind of decision making so that we can solve these kind of problem which our future generation is going to suffer because of non-sustainable lifestyle we are living. So this is GIS. We want it to communicate to people, a solution that everyone can speak. So this is all about this thing. GIS. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.